You hear that drum roll. Facebook Live, good morning. It is quite a lot to catch up on. I took my day off yesterday on a Monday. LaFate Gallery is closed to the public. I normally come in to do my business work, but I had a very hectic week, but hectic and pleasant. So good morning if you're just joining me. I am Eunice LaFate, award-winning folk artist, recently named as most influential in Delaware in the arts and entertainment. I'm very honored by that. So last week was pretty exciting. I have to sit down to tell you about that, because this morning I want to continue my journey of Black History perspectives. Black History Month, diverse perspectives. And I'm going to explain to you, I will explain why I use the term diverse when talking about Black history. Okay, so last week was, as I said, a very exciting week. Friday was the great day. On Friday was a celebration or recognition of Wear Red Day, and that is to bring awareness to cardiovascular disease. That is the American Heart Association, their program highlighted on the 5th of February. It's an entire month they're putting the spotlight on heart health awareness, because we need to be aware of that. And you know me and the food police and the your life is on your plate that I always talk about. So yes, that was the first celebration of that day. And then last Friday evening was the spectacular opening of my Black History Month exhibition. And I'm grateful to Ayana Khan. She's from Trinidad, an immigrant from Trinidad and Tobago. She is the CEO and president of the Delaware Black Chamber of Commerce. She did the honors to open the exhibition. Sorry that Larry Morris, who should have been here, wasn't that up to it that day. So thank you, however, Larry, for volunteering to do that opening remarks. So Ayana opened the exhibition. We had approximately 15 people here, small groups, mask, safety, all that went with it. And to top it all, we had grab-and-go dinners. Thanks to Sedona George, chef and owner of Grapes Real Jamaican Cuisine, which is located at 2302 North Market Street in Wilmington, Delaware. And if you're looking for some Jamaican food, that's the place to go. She served up some sumptuous jerk wings, barbecue wings, festival, tossed salad. And then yours truly cooked up a big pot of ackee and codfish. And that goes back to the slave trade era. That was, ackee came from Ghana. The codfish came from Newfoundland as part of the triangular trade. And let me take you back to that era and talk about that triangular trade, because that's very important. If you can see my map of the world right here, and I put the arrows to trace the journey from Europe. They're from Europe. They went to Africa, on the west coast of Africa. That's where they got their cargo of slaves. Then the journey took them to North America, yes, because they made a stop in Newfoundland. That's where they got the codfish, because they wanted to bring back to the islands and to the plantation food that the people were accustomed to. And then the corn was distributed to the northern plantation, and in the north it was mainly manufacturing. In the south it was cotton. In the islands, Jamaica, my homeland, it was sugar cane. And slavery lasted 300 years in Jamaica under British rule. Okay, so yeah, that's that journey. And yes, this image, which to some people may be uncomfortable, but it's history and I don't sugarcoat it. This image represents the journey from the Gold Coast down to the ships, where people were shackled and put on that ship, that slave ship, to be taken across the Middle Passage. And that Middle Passage journey was horrible. 6 weeks, lot of casualties, and they were packed. The people were packed in that ship, slave ship, like sardines. If you ever, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, and yes, they came to the plantations to be slaves, to work, to produce wealth for mother country. Mother country. Yeah, mother country. That's my storytelling piece. I'm telling the story. And I am not just going to tell you the good parts. I am telling it all. History should not be sugar-coated. We need to tell it. Tell it like it happened. Okay, so they were taken to the plantations to work. Plantations in the Caribbean. The southern plantations where cotton and other crops were grown. And storytelling, thanks to my heritage and my mother, who was a great storyteller. And she told us about our African heritage, our ancestors, how resilient they were. And listen, they didn't roll over on that plantation. The slaves, from the moment they were put on that ship, through the Middle Passage, they were rebelling. They were not just docent. They were rebellious thereon. And on the plantations, we talk about that. They waged many rebellions. And when we get to the part where slavery was abolished, we are going to see or learn that these slaves played a great role in their own freedom. The many rebellions that they had, they shook up the system. And with all the control, etc., they were so smart. They had their own language to communicate with their people that the masters couldn't decipher what they were talking about. I need to take you, as I mentioned that, let's take a look at the plantation. My exhibition opened last Friday, and if you missed it, that exhibition continues through the end of February. It is something to see, and if you have children, I encourage you, bring your children along to see this exhibition. Our children are not learning their history. And as I mentioned that, if you're my friend on Facebook, you would have seen yesterday I posted an article that in Utah, parents were given an option in a charter school not to have their kids involved in learning anything about Black History Month. Think about it. Yes, they didn't want their children to learn about Black History Month. They backtracked later. After the NAACP intervened, they backtracked. Now think about it. No wonder we have so many dysfunctional, and I'm going to use that R word, situations like that create racism. Yes. So that propels racism to prevent children from learning about Black history. Come on. Yeah. No wonder we have so many dysfunctional racists in this country. And I'm going to say it because it's worth saying. Okay. So let's go on that journey now. I took you through the triangular trade. I spoke about it. I'm going to show you a plantation or two. Let's show a plantation now. Yes, right here. That's a plantation. This would be in the Caribbean. And they worked. They had to wake up like 4 o'clock. The slaves worked. It was like from that early hour in the morning all the way until 6 o'clock, working hard with the masters over them. And this one shows the master over them, the slave master over them with a whip. They could be whipped at any moment. I want to take the glare off it. That's right there, working on the plantation. The only form of entertainment they had in those days, storytelling was a big form of entertainment. And a difference between the slaves that were distributed in the southern plantations and those that were sent to the Caribbean in places like Jamaica, those slaves were taken in whole tribes. They were not split up. And that, as a historian, that to me was great because they were able to retain their heritage. And that's why we people, us, Caribbean people, we don't take no stuff. We don't take any stuff. We are resilient. Yes, we got it full. Our tribes were there. They brought their tribal languages. They brought their history. They were able to educate their children about the greatness of their African ancestors. Unfortunately, in the southern states, it wasn't like that. Those people who went there were split up. They split them up. They split up the families. Okay. So, yeah. Slave plantation, Gold Coast, Middle Passage, plantation life, and all of that. And on my screen, you'll notice I put slavery and its abolition. I cannot go into, time will not allow me to get into all the details. I am going to give some facts about the abolition that have been misconstrued and taught incorrectly. You remember, I said that the slaves, from the moment they were captured and put on the slave ship, they started to rebel, okay? In Haiti, for example, they were so rebellious. Haiti, that's the first place where slavery was abolished. Yes, and it was abolished because of rebellions. Those rebellions were rife. In Jamaica, there were the Maroons, and they went up into the hills, and they would swoop down at night and go back up, and they waged war. The planter, they gave those British slave masters, we would say, HE2 stick. Yeah, they didn't play. Okay, so slavery was abolished, finally, yeah? After many, many years. Oh, so, okay. So did the planters wake up one day and say, oh, these poor people, we need to free them. They deserve to be freed. Not so. Dr. Eric Williams, the late Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, in his book, the capitalism of slavery. He posited that slavery was not abolished for humanitarian reasons, that slavery was abolished for economic reasons. So it's a combination. I am not discrediting the abolitionists. There were some great abolitionists who went to Parliament and pleaded for the abolition of slavery. They pleaded, and you can go and read those stories and get those tapes and hear it all. However, the underlying factor, the underlying reason why slavery was abolished was economic. King Sugar had failed on the European market. Beet sugar had taken over, knocked out King Sugar. The profit margin had gone haywire. They weren't getting profit anymore from the goods that they were producing on the slave plantations. So that, combined with the rebellions, that combined with the movement of the abolitionists, it's a triangle right there. However, the most forceful aspect of that triangle would be economic. The economic reason why slavery was abolished. If it were profitable, maybe we would have still have it until today. Knowing those greedy planters. Okay, so yes, with all that happened, the abolition came, and it was phased because it happened first in the North. In the South, slavery continued. Let me show you that piece here. That is Galveston, Texas, when in 1865, the last bastion of slavery in the United States was abolished. Yes, at Galveston, Texas. And that piece of my work is titled, Break Every Chain. Break Every Chain. And the piece right here, let me put a spotlight on it. This is Juneteenth. Yeah, that's how Juneteenth came about. On the 19th of June, when slavery was abolished in Galveston, Texas. And last June was the first time in the history of America where, Juneteenth was heard about by some sectors. Actually, we had some corporations trying to say, let's make it a holiday. All of a sudden, yeah. I love to laugh. History is interesting. All of a sudden, they wanted to name Juneteenth holiday. Yeah, the patronizing. I know, you know how that works. Okay, so a part of the abolition of slavery takes us to a movement, a great movement titled the Underground Railroad. And it was not physically, the Underground Railroad movement was not physically a railroad, and it was not physically underground in that sense. It was, they played the hide and seek, if you want to call it. Did their thing, and by night, now, remember I said slavery had been abolished in the North. So in the South, slavery continued in full gear. And the great Harriet Tubman, yes, the champion Harriet Tubman played a great role. She freed approximately 300 slaves. And here's where the diverse perspective comes into play. Remember I said that my exhibition is titled Black History Diverse Perspective? Well, let me show you. Here we go. There we have it, where two diverse people, a Caucasian man, that is Thomas Garrett, who lived here in the city of Wilmington on 5th Street, about the meeting house and all that, and Harriet Tubman. And she traveled all the way from Maryland, came down to Wilmington, and they had a station. So they were both station masters, and they would hide those slaves. And there is, I went to a place where they actually showed the section where they would hide them. And by night, or early before dawn, they would get those slaves, and they would take them to the north. They would take those slaves to the north because freedom existed there. And when I did my research on Harriet Tubman, I learned something very interesting about a song. We call these songs Negro spiritual song. And as a child, I used to hear them sing it. And the way I learned it, there was one section of that song in terms of destination that Harriet Tubman, the way she had put it, or the way it was meant, was different from how I learned it. So, disclaimer, I am not a singer. I love music. I'm a great artist. I love history. And I'm very moved by songs, like Negro spiritual songs. Yes, and there are songs out there that really, really move me. So I'm going to take a little chance here to talk about the song that was linked to the Underground Railroad. And that song is titled Swing Low. And what is different about it is that when I learned it, it was swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. But when I researched it, it wasn't forth, it was south. Make sense? Because the slaves in the South were still in bondage. And Harriet Tubman, with the Underground Railroad, was trekking them, taking them to the north. So it made sense. Coming south to carry me home. And when they talk about the band of angels coming after me, that would be the other people who were getting ready. And the slaves were so smart. The slave masters didn't even understand. They couldn't read the philosophy and the thinking of the slaves. They underestimated the ability of the slaves. So here's a song. And again, I am not a singer, but I love this song. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming south to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming south to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming south to carry me home, tell all my friends that I'll be coming too, coming south to carry me home. Yes, that's the song. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming south to carry me home, because they were going to the south to get those slaves that were still in bondage, to free them, to take them to the north where slavery had been abolished. So let us give credit to these two diverse people, Thomas Garrett and Harriet Tubman, for a cause. Two diverse people banding for a cause to free the slaves. This is something we should take seriously. And they don't want to teach history? Let me put my face. They don't want to teach black history in the schools? Come on. Don't get me rattled. As a retired teacher and a lifelong education, I strongly believe that history should be taught in its entirety. And they're mincing and dicing history in the curriculum. They take out parts that they love and they put those. And there is a great acclaim about the 4th of July. And yes, that great, and I love 4th of July. Don't get me wrong. I celebrate it too. It's a great part of our history. And that great declaration, we hold those truths to be inevitable, that all men are created equal. What amuses me is that they love, the declaration. But in actual practice, I'm talking about they as related to those people who are bigots and racists. It's not the entire America that is that way, but we have to confront it. And as we speak, I know. You know what is taking place today in Congress? You know what's taking place? So it's relevant now to address racism. Racism is still alive and well. We cannot ignore it. And for our children, we need to train them to respect diversity. And as I mentioned that, my theme for my exhibition is Black History, Diverse Perspectives. And sure enough, our history is diverse. Yes, out of all that slave plantation, slavery, etc., we came to this point where we are right now. And if I can get the glare off it, let's put it on this one. Yeah, there we go. This is where our history is right now. That same history that came all the way from that plantation system till today, we have a diverse country. A country where we should be recognized as individuals and for the greatness, and Black Americans should be recognized for their contribution, all those inventions that I spoke about last week. Those should not go unnoticed. We're no longer this great melting pot where it is assumed that we should all get together and feel all right and be happy. No, and give up. They want, for example, immigrants, they expect you to give up your culture when you come here. No, you don't have to assimilate. You acculturate. You keep your heritage and be a part of this great salad bowl of culture. So, yes, storyteller. That's where it is. So I took you on that triangular journey, and we talked about slavery and the plantation system, all the way up to the abolition of slavery and how that came about, and the underlying reason for the abolition, which was economic. Then I just completed talking about the Underground Railroad and these two diverse people, Thomas Garrett and Harriet Tubman, who in Wilmington at 5th Street were station masters and helped to free hundreds of slaves. Yeah. And the music you're hearing, turn that up because it's all relevant to Black history. The music you're hearing is the music of Jonathan W. Whitney, jazz drummer extraordinaire, who in 2016 came to my gallery and selected 5 of my paintings and incorporated them in an album titled Life's Dimensions. That's the title of the album, Life's, and that's Jonathan. He actually made a shirt on there, which is from my painting. It's a 12-track album, and 5 of the pieces on the album were inspired from my paintings: Life's Dimension, Dreaming of Peace, One Love, Equality, Perspective. Yeah, those paintings were used to create that music. If you want to get the album from Jonathan's music, go to www.jww.com. That's jww.com. That's Jonathan Whitney, and you can get his album. It's a great album. I gave it out for holiday gift. I purchased about 20 and gave them all out to my friends or to my patrons. Oh, okay. And as I mentioned, giving out to my friends and my patrons. When you become a patron of LaFate Gallery, here's what you're going to get. You will receive a copy of this. On the back is a thank you. And this is my recent accomplishment. Be named Most Influential Delawarean of 2020 in Arts and Entertainment. You'll get a copy of that. So go to LaFate Gallery to purchase art. That's www.lafategallery.com to purchase. Own something. We're talking about history, guys. We need to own history. Art is wealth. All these beautiful works of art sitting on this wall, and I have limited edition prints of them. You need to purchase art, own wealth. Art is more than beauty on the wall. Art is wealth. You can leave it on your estate for the next generation. I took you through the journey, and the journey of the movement is going to take us all the way up to Black Lives Matter and to the election of our first female vice president. Yeah, that's where it's going to take. But in the meantime, as I said, I encourage you to invest in art. Here, see, I just spoke about Thomas Garrett, Harriet Tubman. These small frame pieces are $20. I make them affordable. The Great Melting Pot, Salad Bowl, Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. Piece about no justice, no peace. The Capitol, when the ladies marched there, and by the way, their march was a very peaceful march. Yes. Children's room should be adorned with art. If you have children and you don't have any art about diversity in their home, it's about time. Look at that. A peaceful city begins with me. And from the great old African proverb, it takes a village. It is so much I have in this gallery, making it affordable, $20 for these small pieces, and you could get a variety of them and put them on your wall. So, art appreciates, you should appreciate art. Art is more than beauty, art is wealth. Thank you for watching. www.lafategallery.com is my website, and there is another website where you can get my products. That's a Kobe Bryant tote bag right here, Kobe Bryant mug, chain purse, and we have it all here. You can get, these are samples I carry for the gallery. They are for sale if you come to the gallery at 227 North Market Street in Wilmington, Delaware. T-shirts, a wide variety. You can get these online at fineartamerica.com and put Eunice LaFate in the search bar. It takes you to the page or pages with all my artwork from which products are made. So own history. Own a piece of history. It's Black History Month. Don't just talk the talk. Don't just talk the talk. Get a souvenir. Get something for your home that represents Black history. This piece, for example, and all the diversity pieces that I'm showing you, you need to have them in your homes. Thanks.